A bedridden man meticulously counts his waning days when suddenly, he's transmigrated to another world where he gains the new identity of Levis, the soul harvester. In this world, Levis must claim the lives of others to extend his own. The god that reincarnated him didn't give him a special ability, but instead cursed him with a clock. Forced to grapple with a life tethered to a merciless ticking clock, Levis becomes a harbinger of fate, tasked with the daunting responsibility of ending the lives of others in order to preserve his own. Killing a normal farmer increases his lifespan by a day, so if he wants to live at least half a year he would need to kill around 180 people. So, he has to constantly fight on the battlefield. And the best way to enter a battlefield is to become a mercenary. He took on a request to fight in a war. There, he was up against a noble's army, though most of the army was made up of farmers. He cut them down like cheese. After coming into this world he mastered a new power called ether. It's different from magic, it can enhance his weapon and increase physical abilities exponentially. People who can use this power are called knights. No one can imitate the movements of a knight. The only ones who can defeat knights are stronger knights. The noble's army had an elite force of knights called the Black Fog Knightage. The second in command, Lord Nell, fought Levis in a duel. But Levis cut him into pieces, and after that, he was exhausted. So at that moment, he called upon the god that reincarnated him, the god of war, Lam. He sacrificed 1,000 hours of his lifespan and asked for power. Then something unbelievable happened. The elite force of the noble, the Black Fog Knightage, was massacred by him in less than 30 seconds. The rest of the army retreated in fear. After the battle, Levis was drinking and celebrating the battle's end. His colleagues congratulated him, but they were also curious as to how he defeated an entire army by himself, especially the Black Fog Knightage. Levis knew they wouldn't understand even if he told them the truth, so he told them that he fought while putting his entire life on the line. The other mercenaries thought he was joking and threw their beer at him. Then the mercenary leader called him to his office. Levis went to his office and the leader poured him a glass of wine. After that, he gave him a job. Levis accepted the job and left. That night he went into a forest to meet the employer for the job. But waiting for him was a death trap. Men wearing the noble army's clothes ambushed him. When Levis tried to use his ether, he started coughing blood and his entire body froze. He realized that the wine served by his mercenary leader was probably poisoned. And the noble's men were actually his mercenary colleagues. He was betrayed and surrounded. Just when they thought he was about to die, Levis called upon the god of war and exchanged almost all his lifespan for power. Then the god of war gave him his protection, and with that, he got his hands on the god of war's broadsword. The sword was so powerful, it slashed through his mercenary colleagues as though they were butter. When the battle was over, he thought there must be at least one member who didn't betray him. So he went back to the mercenary base, but what awaited was a burning building and the dead bodies of his comrades. It turned out the leader of the mercenary squad made a deal with the noble. The noble promised him a reward for his loyalty, and the mercenary leader knew that if he left his members alive, he would just meet them on a different battlefield. So he killed them all. Hearing that, Levis was enraged and they fought. After clashing their weapons a few times, the leader was preparing his final move, but Levis didn't care. He cut him in half before he could prepare his move. With that, the battle was over. He gathered the swords of his comrades, and to show respect for the dead he made a grave and stabbed their swords on the ground. The next day the mercenary guild called Levis, and told him that he has a debt of 8,600 gold. The guild told him that the building that his mercenary leader had burnt down was very expensive, and because Levis was the only surviving member he has to pay for the damages. Otherwise, he would be marked as a criminal and everyone would be out for his head. Levis refused to cooperate with their unreasonable demands, so the guild suggested that he complete a job and earn money. The noble recently posted a request to hunt down illegal armed forces in the forest. Levis agreed, and before heading out, the guild receptionist told him that if he doesn't return in 3 days, a bounty would be set on his head. That night, he went to the forest and came across a demonic beast. When he killed the beast, it increased his lifespan by 60 years. After seeing this, he was contemplating whether or not he should quit being a mercenary and become a beast hunter instead. Then suddenly a man that looks like a barbarian approached him. He was a real beast hunter. He told him that becoming a beast hunter was not easy and the #1 rule is to not hunt in another hunter's territory. Levis told him that he did not care about the loot and asked him if he knew about the armed illegal forces in the forest. The hunter said that it was probably him and his tribe and that the noble always refers to them as that. Then Levis immediately attacked him. But the beast hunter grabbed his sword with his bare hands. And even with the power of ether, he was unable to land a scratch on him. Instead, his sword which was covered by ether was broken. The beast hunter sent him flying with a punch and injured him to the point of fainting. 3 days later, Levis woke up in the village of the beast hunters. Contrary to his expectations, the hunters were nice to him and the hunter that fought him was Guilford, the chief of the village. After hearing that he was asleep for 3 days, he realized that the guild set a bounty on his head and he could no longer return to society. So, he joined the beast hunters. The hunters gave him his first target. It was the stone monkey that inhabits the west side of the forest. The next day Levis went to find the stone monkeys, but the stone monkeys in real life looked nothing like the illustration. The stone monkeys were terrifyingly strong and had fast regeneration. Although it took some time, Levis was able to easily slay the monkeys. After that, a few weeks passed and he became a full-fledged member of the beast hunter town. At that moment some trouble came up in their neighboring hunter town, so Guilford told him to go check it out. On his way to the town, Levis came across corpses that were killed by humans, and he also met a girl from the neighboring town. The noble sent knights and mercenaries to slay the beast hunters and she was the last survivor from the neighboring town. Then 3 mercenaries that were after her appeared before him. He killed 2 of them and let one escape. After that, he went to the neighboring village, but all he found were chopped up bodies. And the marks that were left behind resembled the ether of his former mercenary leader. This time the noble prepared an army with all his remaining wealth and manpower. It was led by a powerful knight whose abilities were similar to the former mercenary leader. When Levis informed the village chief, Guilford, about that, he decided to capture all the attackers alive. Levis tried warning him, but Guilford told him that they were beast hunters, not murderers. That night, they set up bait outside the post with a campfire. When the noble's army got closer they fell right into the traps. They set up a large pit hole, swinging logs, nets, etc. While the army was trapped, Levis attacked the armored knight that resembled the leader. The knight fought with a double-sided axe just like the leader and their fighting style was also similar. While they were fighting, out of nowhere the demonic beasts started attacking them. For the time being, Levis decided to put their differences aside and fight the demonic beasts. He told the armored knight to chop the heads of the monkeys instead of doing useless things. With that advice, the armored knight was easily able to slay the demonic stone monkeys. At that moment, Levis struck his helmet and took it off. He confirmed that he wasn't the leader. In fact, he was Marco, the son of the mercenary leader. Then suddenly stronger demonic beasts showed up, and the army was being slaughtered by the beasts. Seeing that, Guilford decided to save anyone he could, including the noble's army. Levis said he was crazy, but Guilford told him not to judge a human by their uses and that they don't need a reason to save humans. When Levis heard that, he was reminded of his old world and the cruel reality of this middle-age world. He acknowledged Guilford as the first real knight he had seen in that world. Then Marco, the armored knight, said that was bullshit, and started attacking the beasts even though his own allies were getting killed. Levis stopped him, and Marco asked him if he was suddenly feeling empathy. After killing so many people and even his own allies. After hearing that, Levis was finally able to clear his thoughts, and figured out what to do. His job was to kill bastards like him. And that is all for now. Find out more about this series in the next recap video. Let us know in the comments the manhwa or manga you want us to recap next.